I'm Mark, and with my wife Marianne we are on the job concrete mixing. My background is in construction. I'm a registered builder and have had a batch plant previously in the early 90s. I sold the batch plant on to a local company who in turn sold it to a multinational company who in a small country town said they couldn't make money out of it and tore it down and put me back in the concrete business. This time with a volumetric. I'm very pleased to say the advantages of the volumetric are very apparent once you own one, and what you can do with them is pretty much limitless. My background is in concrete. I had a batch plant back in the 90s here in our small country town of Crow's Nest, and I'm a registered builder, so I've had a long experience with it. I first saw a volumetric mixer about 12 years ago, a rather antiquated one, but the idea never left my head. When I sold my original batch plant, it was to a local company who in turn sold it to a multinational who tore it down because they weren't making any money, and here am I back in the concrete business, but this time with a volumetric. Our model for starting with a volumetric was to cater for a DIY market, the smaller loads, which is why you see an M15 and not a big truck. We're not trying to compete against the bowls. There's enough of them running around. So we aim for the smaller loads, the difficult ones, the out of hours ones, the ones that the big companies don't want to do. Which means we find ourselves sometimes working on a weekend. We charge surcharges for that. Obviously people pay for convenience, which is what we're all about. So as a registered builder, I found myself not being comfortable building anymore. My body's starting to ache a little bit, and bureaucracy sort of started to chase me out of the building industry. I looked at what I could do, and of course that was getting back into the concrete industry, doing something that I know about. I looked around at what to do. Do I do another batch plant? And again, that thought about that old volumetric that I saw all those years ago entered my head again. So I started looking around for someone to buy a mixer from, and came across Antec. I approached them as to what I wanted to do, and they gave me an awful lot of information as to what was available and what I could get. The M15 suited my purposes for what I'm trying to achieve. We didn't want a big truck, we want to be able to get into places. This particular little mixer behind me has served us very well. And after the purchase, of course, being a little bit nervous, not knowing volumetrics, any time that I needed some help and I contacted Antec, the help was instantaneous. They would tell me what I needed to know. If they didn't know, they would get on to Cement Tech in America, and we always gained whatever information we wanted. While we aimed for a specific market when we first purchased this truck, we found our needs varied quite a lot as people were prepared to give us a go and experiment with the volumetric. The volumetric can do stuff that a bowl simply cannot. We're making sand mixers for tilers to be able to bed their floors, which is a really dry 3-part sand, 1-part cement mix that it's just impossible to do with a bowl, and this truck does it very successfully. We make a 7mm mix for topping floors. We do multiple MPAs from 20 right through to 40. We work for civil companies. We work for Toowoomba Regional Council. They don't use you unless you know what you're doing. So we are competing against multinational companies in doing these tasks. We're quite prepared for them to take cylinders and check our mix designs anytime they want. We are coming up with above standard concrete continuously with this mixer. It does a beautiful job of mixing concrete, and the control that you have with a volumetric over a bowl, we can put out a mix that's quite wet for a certain thing and then cut the water back and give it to them dry to finish off a corner. We can pour a 40 MPa mix in the bottom, as we have before for plumbers, in the bottom of a drain, let them place their pipe or their drain on top of the 40 MPa, and then as a backfill, take it back to 20 MPa, obviously saving them dollars. Alter the MPa, alter the mix, anything you want to do on site, just purely by changing your computer. We've been running this business now for 3 years and find that in buying it, we bought a business, but we also bought a lifestyle. It's great. We live here on a property, so we can actually look after our property, breed our goats, look after our bees and chooks and everything else, and the phone rings and we can load this truck and be gone in 15 minutes, and then simply come home and wash the truck up and put it back in the shed. Then if the phone rings, away we go again. Some days we will start at daylight and we will not finish till dark. Other days might be a bit quieter. We take each day as it comes.
It's certainly given us a different lifestyle. I don't mind going out in the truck with Mark at all and seeing the places where we get into. I'm often outside the truck, backing him in, getting the chute that we can go around a tree, down the side of a hill. We travel everywhere and anywhere and meet all sorts of people and take on all sorts of different jobs.
As an ongoing thing now for us, if ever we require any assistance, it's only a phone call to Antec, and they will supply us with any spare parts we need, and obviously any advice. We chose an M15 for our mixer, but Antec has a great range of other mixers in volumetric and all sorts of other products to do with the creation of concrete. They've been a good team to deal with. We can approach them anytime we need to, and I highly recommend, if you need to do anything with concrete, have a talk to their company.